The history of the Frigo Vert. So the Frigo Vert was kind of like a brainchild of the Quebec Public Interest Research Group, Cooperg at Concordia. And there were a lot of activists involved in food issues, food security, environmental issues, some things like vegetarianism and veganism. So it's just a way of expanding your mind in terms of like, the things you put in your body and the political relations that, you have with food. Food security, how some people were getting food and others were getting no food, and talking about eating local, organic food, healthy food versus genetically modified organisms, which were just starting to really come into popularity at the time with corporations. So we had talked about Monsanto and things like that. There was a book called Hungry for Justice, and I should admit I didn't read it, but at the time, but I did know what the contents were and what the politics were. Basically, it's like, try to grow your own food, try to eat locally produced food, try not to eat processed food. So it was a lot of really good information, and also how we could create a cooperative. So one of the big problems with food these days is food is done for profit. Everywhere you go, it's all about making profit, and big farms and big agribusiness, seeds, everything. It's all like just a kind of monopoly. And this was more about how we can access food, how we could access good quality food, and kind of liberate ourselves from these big supermarket chains that develop this food and process the food so much and have way too much packaging and things like that. So we wanted to reduce the packaging. We also wanted to talk about fair trade chocolate, fair trade coffee, fair trade food in general, and some alternatives to like, dairy, for example. We had like soy milk and things like that. So it was quite a good learning process, how we could, what was the best food for us to sell, where from, in the local areas, from farms in Quebec and things like that, locally, from small farmers, collective farmers if we could. So it was quite a good experience. So that was our 1996, if I remember correctly, and so that was the experience. I think it was in January of 1996 where we finally got it off the ground. There were some delays of the Frigo Vert, and we actually got the Frigo Vert going, and it started going slowly. It was a very small operation. Unfortunately, I guess my vision of what should have happened didn't really come to fruition. So I thought I wanted to develop a large scale type of store. Hopefully we would outgrow that small location and have a really big location, and in a sense have a supermarket, an alternative supermarket where we could like sell things en masse, at a non-profit rate, of course, so that people could access food better, and we could possibly feed the community and do things like that. So I felt like, unfortunately, the project didn't go the way that it should have, but there was a lot of excitement, and I think, in a sense, the thing we did the best was educate people, bring in volunteers, and we all learned from each other about food politics and food security. So yeah, that happened around 1996 when it all started going.